Have you ever encountered someone whose actions left you speechless? Someone who repeatedly makes irrational choices, ignores wisdom, or creates unnecessary chaos? The truth is, stupidity is more dangerous than you think. It can ruin relationships, destroy opportunities, and even hurt those around it. But here's the shocking part. You might unknowingly be surrounded by people who exhibit these signs every day. Worse, you could be displaying some of these behaviors yourself without even realizing it. In this video, we're diving deep into the unmistakable signs of a stupid person. By the end, you'll not only learn how to identify these traits in others, but also how to ensure you don't fall into these traps. So, if you're ready to transform the way you see the world, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. 1. Refusal to learn. Imagine this. You're working with someone who, no matter how much you try to help them, outright refuses to listen. They reject advice, even if it could save them time, energy, or money. Instead, they act as if they already know everything. This is one of the most glaring signs of a foolish person, their outright refusal to learn. You see, stupidity isn't about not knowing something. It's about refusing to know. It's about being so consumed by arrogance that they close their mind to new ideas, perspectives, or skills. They don't say, "Teach me," or "Show me how to do better." Instead, they dig their heels into the ground, convinced they're already right. Whether it's a colleague refusing to adapt to new technology because the old way worked just fine, or a friend who dismisses constructive criticism by saying, "I don't need advice." This mindset of willful ignorance is a surefire way to fail. But here's the harsh truth. Refusing to learn doesn't just stop you from growing, it pulls you backward. The world moves forward every single day. Technology evolves, industries change, and new opportunities emerge. A refusal to adapt means falling behind, becoming obsolete, and ultimately being left out of conversations that matter. The extreme danger here lies in the domino effect of their ignorance. Not only do they fail themselves, but they can also drag down those around them. Think of a stubborn leader who refuses to embrace modern strategies, causing their entire team or company to suffer. Or a parent who refuses to learn from their own mistakes, passing down flawed beliefs and toxic behaviors to their children. But perhaps the scariest part is this. People who refuse to learn often convince themselves that they're smarter than everyone else. They don't see their refusal as a weakness. They see it as a strength, a badge of honor. This false confidence makes them blind to their own flaws, and they continue repeating the same mistakes over and over again, all while blaming the world for their failures. Now ask yourself, have you ever encountered someone like this? Or worse, have you ever caught yourself acting this way? A refusal to learn is like willingly choosing to stay in the dark, while the rest of the world lights the way forward. It's not just ignorance, it's arrogance, and it's one of the most self-destructive traits a person can have. If you resonate with this, remember, learning is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's proof that you're wise enough to admit you don't know everything and brave enough to change. So whenever you encounter someone who rejects learning, take note. They're not just stuck, they're digging their own grave of failure and irrelevance. Don't let yourself fall into the same trap. 2. Acting on impulse. Picture this. Someone makes a life-changing decision in the blink of an eye. No planning, no thinking, no weighing the consequences. They rush into commitments they're not prepared for, speak out of turn without understanding the full picture, or make split-second choices that end up creating chaos. This impulsivity is one of the most defining traits of a foolish person, and it's more destructive than you might imagine. Acting on impulse is not just about being careless, it's about being reckless. It's about ignoring the bigger picture and letting short-term emotions dictate long-term decisions. The problem is, these people rarely think ahead. They don't stop to ask, "What will this cost me?" or "How will this affect the people around me?" Instead, they charge forward, only to regret their actions later, when it's too late to undo the damage. Imagine someone impulsively quitting their job because they had a bad day, or a person jumping into a financial investment they don't understand, only to lose everything. Even worse, think about the damage caused by people who speak before they think, blurting out hurtful comments, starting arguments, or revealing secrets in the heat of the moment. These impulsive actions don't just hurt themselves, they hurt everyone around them. Now, let's take it to an extreme level. Impulsive people often destroy relationships, careers, and even their own peace of mind. A single impulsive decision can trigger a chain reaction of consequences that spirals out of control. For example, someone who decides to buy something expensive they can't afford on a whim might not just struggle financially. They could end up drowning in debt, ruining their credit score, and creating stress for their entire family. But the real danger lies in their inability to learn from their mistakes. They live in a constant cycle of impulsivity, regret, and justification. Instead of reflecting on their actions, they move on to the next rash decision, leaving a trail of chaos wherever they go. And here's the kicker: they often blame others for the mess they've created. To them, it's not their impulsivity that's the problem. It's the people, the system, or bad luck. Let me ask you this. Have you ever known someone who seems to live their life this way? Or have you ever caught yourself being impulsive? The truth is, impulsivity can feel good in the moment. It's exciting, it's bold, and it's quick. But what feels like freedom at the time often becomes a prison of regret. So, what's the lesson here? Wisdom is about pausing, reflecting, and considering the consequences before acting. It's about asking yourself, is this decision worth it? How will it affect my future? How will it affect others? Foolish people skip these questions entirely, and in doing so, they not only sabotage themselves, but also those who depend on them. Remember, impulsivity is not a sign of bravery, it's a sign of recklessness. And the more you allow it to control your actions, the harder it becomes to escape the cycle of chaos it creates. Be mindful of your decisions and take note of those around you who act without thinking. They may not just be impulsive, they may be the kind of people who bring disorder into your life. 3. Blaming others for their failures. Have you ever met someone who, no matter what happens, always finds a way to make it someone else's fault? When things go wrong, instead of looking inward and asking, "What could I have done differently?" they're quick to point fingers at their friends, their family, the system, their circumstances, or even bad luck. This is one of the clearest and most destructive signs of a foolish person, the inability to take responsibility for their own mistakes. Blaming others isn't just an excuse. It's a mindset, a habit, and a way of life for these people. It's their way of shielding themselves from discomfort. Because let's face it, taking responsibility is hard. It requires courage to admit, "I messed up," and humility to say, "I need to do better." But stupid people avoid this completely. They convince themselves that the problem is always external. To them, it's never about their choices or their actions. It's always someone else's fault. Let's make this extreme. Imagine a person who's constantly stuck in financial trouble. Instead of budgeting or cutting back on expenses, they blame the economy, their boss for not giving them a raise, or even their parents for not teaching them better financial habits. Or think about someone who keeps failing at relationships. Instead of reflecting on their own toxic behavior or lack of effort, they accuse their partner of being too demanding, their friends of giving bad advice, or society for having impossible expectations. But here's the harsh truth. Blaming others doesn't solve anything. In fact, it does the exact opposite. It locks them into a cycle of failure. Why? Because when you refuse to take responsibility, you refuse to learn. And when you refuse to learn, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. These people stay stuck in mediocrity, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they lack accountability. The danger doesn't stop there. People who blame others for their failures often become toxic to those around them. They bring negativity into every situation, dragging down those who try to help them. Imagine working with someone who never owns up to their errors, forcing others to pick up the slack or take the fall, or being friends with someone who constantly complains about their problems but never does anything to change their situation. Over time, this behavior drains the energy and patience of everyone in their circle. But perhaps the most dangerous aspect is the sense of entitlement that comes with this mindset. People who blame others often feel like the world owes them something, that they're victims who deserve sympathy and help without putting in any effort. This entitlement breeds resentment, bitterness, and a constant sense of dissatisfaction. They look at others' success and think, "Why them, not me?" without ever asking, "What can I do to improve myself?" Let me ask you, have you ever caught yourself blaming someone else for your mistakes? Or have you dealt with someone like this in your life? The truth is, we've all been guilty of it at some point, but the difference between a wise person and a foolish one is this. Wise people take responsibility. They don't see mistakes as failures. They see them as lessons. They own their errors, learn from them, and come back stronger. Foolish people, on the other hand, stay blind to their own flaws. By blaming others, they protect their ego in the short term, but sacrifice their growth in the long term. And as time goes on, their excuses grow thinner, their opportunities disappear, and they find themselves trapped in a life they secretly hate but refuse to change. So, if you see this behavior in yourself, take it as a wake-up call, and if you see it in others, take it as a warning. Surround yourself with people who take accountability, because these are the ones who grow, succeed, and inspire others to do the same. As for the ones who point fingers, leave them behind, because they'll only drag you down with them. 4. Thriving on gossip and drama. Now let's talk about one of the most toxic signs of a foolish person, their obsession with gossip and drama. These people thrive on negativity, constantly stirring the pot and dragging others into their web of meaningless chatter. Instead of engaging in meaningful conversations or focusing on personal growth, they waste their time, and yours, by fixating on the trivial. Imagine this: someone at work spends more time talking about who got promoted, who might be dating whom, or who made a mistake, rather than actually doing their job. Or a friend who can't wait to call you, not to ask how you're doing, but to dish out the latest rumor they heard. These people are like magnets for drama. They attract it, feed on it, and spread it wherever they go. But here's the kicker. This obsession with gossip and drama doesn't just waste time, it destroys trust. A foolish person who thrives on gossip will betray confidences, twist facts, and create divisions between people. They'll tell you one thing to your face and something entirely different behind your back. And when you're not around, you can bet you're the topic of their next conversation. Let's take this to the extreme level. Think about how much energy they waste. Energy that could be used to improve their lives or help others. Instead of reading, learning, or building meaningful relationships, they pour all their effort into tearing others down. While the world is moving forward, they're stuck in a cycle of negativity and pettiness, unable to see the bigger picture. But it doesn't stop there. Foolish people who thrive on gossip and drama often drag others down with them. They turn peaceful environments into toxic ones, whether it's a workplace, a friendship group, or even a family. They plant seeds of doubt, jealousy, and resentment, creating unnecessary conflicts that could have been avoided entirely. And the worst part? They never take responsibility for the chaos they create. Instead, they sit back and enjoy the show as others deal with the fallout. The root of this behavior lies in insecurity. People who focus on gossip and drama do so because it makes them feel important. Talking about others distracts them from their own flaws and failures. They gain a false sense of power by tearing others down, thinking it elevates them in comparison. But in reality, it does the opposite. It highlights their lack of depth, maturity, and focus. Now, here's the harsh reality. Time is one of the most valuable resources you'll ever have. Every moment spent on gossip and drama is a moment wasted, time you'll never get back. While wise people invest their energy in growth, self-improvement, and meaningful connections, foolish people squander it on negativity, ensuring they stay far from success. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been caught up in someone else's drama? Did you feel drained afterward, like your energy and peace of mind were stolen from you? That's because gossip and drama are not harmless. They're toxic. And the more you allow these people to influence your life, the more they'll pull you into their cycle of chaos. So, what's the lesson here? Be mindful of who you surround yourself with. Distance yourself from people who thrive on gossip and drama because they add no value to your life. Instead, seek out those who focus on positivity, growth, and meaningful conversations. And most importantly, make sure you're not the one fueling the fire. Gossip and drama might seem harmless in the moment, but in the long run, they'll rob you of your time, trust, and peace of mind. Remember, wise people build others up, while foolish people tear others down. Choose to be the builder, not the destroyer. 5. Lack of empathy. Now, let's dive into what is perhaps the most dangerous and destructive sign of all: a lack of empathy. A person without empathy fails to see beyond their own needs, desires, and feelings. They don't stop to think about how their actions impact others, and the result: they hurt, alienate, and push people away without even realizing the depth of the damage they're causing. Picture this. Someone mocking a friend who is struggling with something personal just because they think it's funny. Or a coworker dismissing another's concerns, brushing them off with, "That's not my problem." These people disregard others' feelings, and they do it without hesitation. To them, it's not about understanding or supporting others. It's about their own convenience, their own amusement, and their own ego. This lack of empathy shows up in the cruelest ways. They humiliate others in public, thinking it's harmless fun. They interrupt heartfelt conversations with insensitive comments. They downplay someone's struggles by saying things like, "Oh, it's not that bad," or "You're just overreacting." These actions may seem small in the moment, but they cut deep, leaving scars that can last a lifetime. Now let's take this behavior to the extreme. Think about someone who steps over others just to get ahead. They lie, cheat, or manipulate without a second thought, all because they don't care who gets hurt in the process. Or consider someone who abandons a friend in their time of need, shrugging it off with excuses like, "I don't have time for this." This kind of cold, selfish behavior doesn't just harm others, it isolates them. Because here's the thing, people may tolerate this for a while, but eventually they'll walk away. And when they do, the person without empathy is left completely alone. But why does this happen? Why do these people lack empathy in the first place? Often, it stems from a deep sense of insecurity or a warped sense of superiority. They don't see others as equals. Instead, they see them as tools, obstacles, or distractions. They're so consumed by their own world that they can't or won't step into someone else's shoes. Let me be clear, A lack of empathy isn't just a personality flaw, it's a poison. It ruins relationships, destroys trust, and creates an emotional distance that's almost impossible to bridge. Imagine being in a relationship with someone who doesn't care how you feel, or working with someone who never considers the impact of their actions on the team. It's exhausting, frustrating, and deeply hurtful. And here's the worst part. People who lack empathy rarely see the problem in their behavior. They justify their actions with excuses like, "I'm just being honest," or "that's just who I am." They convince themselves that they're strong, blunt, or practical, when in reality they're just selfish and detached. But what they fail to realize is this: empathy isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It's what allows us to connect with others, to build trust, and to create meaningful relationships. Without it, they're left in a cold, lonely world of their own making, wondering why no one wants to be around them. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever been on the receiving end of someone's lack of empathy? How did it make you feel? Hurt? Unimportant? Like your emotions didn't matter? That's the kind of damage we're talking about here. And if you've seen this behavior in someone close to you, or worse, in yourself, then it's time to take action. The solution? It starts with awareness. Empathy is about more than just understanding someone else's feelings. It's about caring enough to act. It's about pausing before you speak, thinking about the impact of your actions, and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And if you surround yourself with people who lack empathy, it's time to rethink those connections, because no matter how strong you are, a constant lack of understanding and compassion will eventually drain you. Remember this: the world doesn't need more people who hurt, dismiss, or ignore. It needs people who listen, care, and connect. Don't let a lack of empathy define you or the people you allow into your life. 6. Overconfidence without substance. Let's address one of the most glaring and frustrating signs of foolishness: overconfidence without substance. These are the people who act like they know it all, but in reality lack the knowledge, skills, or even the effort to justify their bold claims. They're the loudest in the room, the first to offer their opinions, and the quickest to declare themselves experts, often in areas they barely understand. And while their confidence might seem impressive at first, it quickly becomes clear that it's nothing but an empty shell. Picture this: someone who confidently walks into a meeting, dismisses everyone else's ideas, and insists their plan is the best, even though they've done zero research. Or someone who gives life advice with an air of authority, despite having a track record of poor decisions. These individuals thrive on the illusion of competence, but when it comes time to deliver, they fall flat. What makes this behavior so extreme is the damage it causes, not just to themselves, but to everyone around them. Their overconfidence leads to reckless decisions because they underestimate challenges and overestimate their own abilities. Imagine someone deciding to start a business without understanding the market, the finances, or even the basic steps involved. They dive in head first, dismissing advice from experienced professionals, and when it inevitably falls apart, they blame circumstances instead of acknowledging their lack of preparation. Here's where it gets even more dangerous. Overconfident people often dismiss genuine expertise from others. They refuse to listen to those who do know what they're talking about, because admitting someone else might be more knowledgeable feels like an attack on their ego. For example, a person trying to fix a complex problem might ignore a skilled professional's advice, insisting, "I've got this," only to make the situation worse. Their pride blinds them to the fact that seeking help or admitting their limitations isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. And let's not forget the social impact. Overconfidence without substance is a recipe for alienation. People quickly grow tired of someone who talks a big game but never delivers. Colleagues avoid working with them. Friends stop taking them seriously, and those who once admired their boldness begin to see it as arrogance. It's one thing to be confident. It's another to be so blinded by confidence that you become insufferable. But why does this happen? Why are some people so overconfident despite lacking substance? Often it's a defense mechanism. They mask their insecurity by projecting an image of certainty. It's easier to pretend you know everything than to admit you have gaps in your knowledge. And in today's world, where confidence is often mistaken for competence, many foolish people get away with this behavior, at least for a while. Now, let's turn up the intensity. Think about how destructive this mindset can be. Overconfident individuals not only hold themselves back, but they can also derail teams, projects, and relationships. Imagine working under a boss who constantly makes poor decisions because they refuse to listen to their team, or being friends with someone who gives you terrible advice because they're too arrogant to admit they don't know what they're talking about. The ripple effects of their blind confidence can ruin opportunities, create unnecessary conflicts, and lead to significant setbacks for everyone involved. But here's the harsh truth. Overconfidence without substance is unsustainable. Eventually, reality catches up. Sooner or later, their lack of preparation, effort, and expertise is exposed. And when that happens, the fall is hard. The bravado that once impressed others becomes a source of ridicule. The opportunities they were given are lost, and the people who once trusted them walk away. So, what's the lesson here? True confidence comes from substance, from knowledge, preparation, and the willingness to learn. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most informed, thoughtful, and capable. And for those who recognize this sign in themselves, it's never too late to change. Start by admitting what you don't know, seeking out knowledge, and valuing the expertise of others. And if you recognize this trait in someone around you, be cautious. Don't let their misplaced confidence influence your decisions or distract you from reality. Stand firm in your own knowledge and don't be afraid to challenge their bravado with facts. Remember, there's nothing wrong with confidence, but without substance to back it up, it's nothing more than empty noise. Now that you know the signs, take a moment to reflect. Are you unknowingly exhibiting any of these traits? And more importantly, are there people in your life whose behavior matches these descriptions? Awareness is the first step to change. Remember, intelligence isn't about knowing everything. It's about being open to learning, understanding others, and making thoughtful decisions. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's all strive to be better every day. Until next time, stay wise and take care.